Okay, I'm trying to run the new testnet, and I have the Java process here. This is unusual. It's showing 535% of the CPU. I guess there's eight cores. Up here, it shows that I'm 32% idle. That's about right. But it's used a total of 56 minutes. I guess that's it hasn't been running that long, so it must be the time added for all the CPUs. Like this is the percent for all the CPUs. That's a considerable amount of time it's been running, almost an hour. By Q, and I show blocks here. It's got nothing.
No blocks.
No blocks. And I know it got an approval block. And it's dropping a lot of duplicates and queuing messages. It's funny because when if I access node 1, I get it's unable to access it. Node 1 appears currently unavailable. And then node 2 isn't working. But we do have a working observer. Doesn't look like anybody else can run a read-only though. At least I can't.
The observer nodes works well, but I'm in the same position as you. I have not managed to run a read-only node myself, but the one launched by NodeZipper works great.
So what kind of error do you see, Rafael?
When I try to reach API/blocks/1, I have the could not visualize graph. Casper instance was not available yet. So it seems
you didn't
like
receive you didn't receive the Genesis block.
No, it seems like I did not receive it.
So do you see any error in logs?
I can. So I have been running with this script that someone on the mainnet channel shared. So I don't know if those options are useful. But I have run it with this command and then the logs. Okay, these are the last 60 lines of the rnode.log file. I can show you the last 1,000 lines. So yes, I did not check it today, so it seems there is an error repeating.
Yeah, this is strange error. And Jim, you don't see this kind of error, right?
No.
You have something else.
Yeah.
And Jim, you on your node you have a Genesis block, right? This is like strange thing.
I don't have a Genesis block.
No.
I had it yesterday. I had a Genesis block. That's all I got. But right now I have 0. I got the I'm getting different things running with different nodes. Maybe I should try node 3 now.
Well, this shouldn't be any difference, right?
Well, there is
You- you-
certainly. Unless node one is just
so
dead.
so you're saying that you are using different bootstrap address,
Yeah.
because this bootstrap address should be just the first connection, and after that node will pick up all the other nodes, and it will just continue. So it shouldn't be any difference which bootstrap address you choose, which node you choose as the first one. At least it must be responsive, right?
So if we you think there could be something wrong with my bootstrap node? Okay, so I just changed the I use the same bootstrap as before. That may be my problem, and I just changed the network.
So what do you mean you just changed the network?
The network name.
Okay. I mean, you're using the correct network, right?
For I'm going to get this fresh. Now, what's that long number that comes before the node number? I think I may have that wrong in the bootstrap address.
Oh, so yeah. I mean, this is the real name of the node.
Right. So
it is generated from PEM files that are in rnode directory. So if you keep these two files, you can keep rnode address the same.
well, I'm going to try it again.
Rafael, do you have a log that is on the beginning, so we can see how node acquire peers or anything else?
I just relaunched the node with a very basic script with no options. So we'll see. I can share. We'll see how it goes.
Which network name you are using?
This one, I have copied it from the post of Jim. So basically,
okay. So you are connected on testnet, not the mainnet.
Testnet.
Okay.
Change the node 1 to node 2, and then map size of I not change it.
So map size is the maximum size of the LMDB database. So if you set this to amount of free memory, that would be like.
Okay. So basically, it seems to have started correctly. Let me check on the browser.
You have blocks, but okay. Now it's calculating the Genesis block.
Nice. Okay, the slash status page appears. So
but it's still adding this block. So is this Genesis or? When you see the message computed parents post state for block, this is the place where the processing of blocks is starting. Yeah. for Genesis, this is a little longer, especially on the mainnet. But any other block is okay. So this added. Okay, this is not one.
Raphael, did I hear correctly? You're trying to start a read-only node on testnet. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. And Jim, you're trying to create a read-only node on mainnet, correct?
No, on testnet also.
Testnet also. Okay. And observer that Nutzipper created, is that a read-only node on testnet or mainnet?
Testnet.
Testnet. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I got
it's still
valid
accessible.
approved block received.
Okay. Do you have discomputed parents? So Rafael, you're running this on Scaleway, right? You're muted.
Yes, it's on Scaleway web hosting. 8 gigabytes.
My friend had a problem with Scaleway because their machines are like very small, and it looks like you have like I don't know 4 cores, but it's running very slowly. So maybe you don't see you know, processing of blocks because of that.
Yes,
I'm just
because I think it's the cheapest platform, so maybe there is some hidden stuff.
Because he was surprised that that was not the real processor, but just some kind of atom or something.
Yeah, of course, it's a shared memory.
What is your what is top shell, or you know, in terms of your memory and CPU usage?
I'm using this Hetzner platform, and it's working pretty nice, at least for me. So maybe you want to check it.
Which platform?
I put the link in the chat.
Okay.
Hetzner, and they're not expensive. So maybe you can just compare it and try it. And it's very similar to DigitalOcean with UI and everything. So from that perspective, it's nice. Jim, what do you see?
I keep seeing enqueued message, no message to dispatch for, drop duplicate, enqueued, and I still have 0 blocks.
Can you show us the log, at least on the beginning, so that we see how node was connecting?
Okay, let me. I guess I have to steal it. Where is it? There. Weird. Okay, so we have running on network.
Okay. This looks fine. So
Block.
can you go further?
Not found in storage.
So you're
Go
starting
forward.
from fresh. Listening for traffic. Okay.
Will bootstrap. Listening for traffic. Waiting for first connection.
Okay, you have peers. Okay.
Adding blocks to dispatch queue, I guess.
Yeah, and now you have starting to request approved block. So this is fine. Successfully sent message.
And
And now you should.
Received approval block message.
Okay. Okay, can you go further? Okay, okay, valid approval received. Computed parents for block 92D6. Okay, this is Genesis. So can you go further?
Yeah, pretty much the rest of it looks like the same.
Okay, so it's still computing the Genesis block.
And it's used 30 minutes of CPU time, according to this. So how many minutes of CPU time will it take is the question.
I'm not sure. How many cores do you have on this machine?
8. This is a cheap machine too, so.
If I'm not missing something, it seems that both of you have like processing the Genesis block. And on testnet Genesis block should be like small one.
Right.
So why is this?
And I was able to get the Genesis block for the old testnet, but I guess that wasn't 22, that was 21.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the other nodes. So I'm not sure if this is in the same time, but other nodes are also have only the Genesis. So maybe your node was the same as the others.
Yeah.
So.
So I don't know. I guess we can wait and see if it ever finishes. But like you said, the Genesis block should be small. I mean, apparently, Nutzipper didn't even distribute any rev to anybody.
Yeah, these few wallets are not something big.
He did used the wallet.txt file. So if you have revs in the wallet.txt file, you should have rev on the testnet.
Yeah, but I'm saying that the wallet file is not big like in mainnet, so it's processed quickly. For mainnet, Genesis block is processing around half an hour.
Okay.
On the good machine, so on small machine it should be.
So I had those logs, so maybe it's good news.
So you have a block received, but I'm not sure that block is processed. So you need to have a message that node is in running state.
So okay, so I'll wait. But right now, since NetZipper has launched a observer node, so it works well. So I've been able to perform the verifications I wanted to perform. So it's cool.
Yeah, but it's still strange. Why can you just run it?
Yes, because I don't feel comfortable with launching the API relying on the observer node oh yes, because do you know what is the configuration of the machines running the mainnet?
I'm not completely sure,
Okay.
but I think it's pretty good machines. They're not
Okay,
like.
So maybe I'll just launch my DAPI node on my server and I'll not handle the read-only node, and I'll rely on the official ones of the co-op for the incoming release of DAPI.
Yeah, this makes sense. And yeah, for mainnet, read-only node should be stable as any validator. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we should have more than one read-only node in mainnet.
Yes, I saw that there is at least 3.
I'm not sure. Yeah, they're running. Yeah, exactly. In each region. Yeah.
So we have 3 read-only nodes in mainnet, and how many main nodes or servers or validators do we have in mainnet? Does anyone know?
I think 9. I'm
9.
not sure why node 9 is not. I was thinking that we will have 10, but I see from the addresses that we have only 9. So I'm not.
Okay,
sure.
so
Well,
there's
the 10th one. The 10th one is Theo.
Oh, I'm counting everything. I'm counting everything.
Okay.
So I'm counting Theo's node also, and we have node 0 to node 8, but node 9 is not responsive. So
okay.
It's probably not running. So.
Raphael, it sounded like with this DAPI server launch, is that your sort of your launch of DAPI, or are you still getting that together?
Okay, so I might I'll give you a picture of the last developments. So okay, this is the server quitting. Okay, so basically yes, for 2 weeks it's only been some very minor developments. The goal is not to develop new features of DAPI. The goal is to get ready for mainnet launch,
okay,
which has occurred like 10 days ago.
right.
So basically right now, I was waiting for read-only node on testnet, which came out like 6 hours ago. So I worked a bit this morning with this node. So I have connected my local DAPI node software to this read-only node. And so I have added some debug information that will be available, which is the last known block height. It is a block height which is modulo 12, so it increases 12 by 12. This makes it possible. The reason for this is that if you have like 10 nodes you are connected to, you should be able to synchronize with each one of them more frequently, even if one node is at block 1000 and the other node might be at block 1003. It does not matter because it's modulo 12. So, but that's a detail. So I have added this, and I have transited all the addressing system to the file module. So now the standard is the following: registry URI dot file ID. So I have worked on the DAPI CLI program to reflect those changes. And of course, now DAPI relies mainly on explore deploys. So I might show you the account part. It works now because before we were not able to check the balance. Now we can do it with explore deploy. So basically now DAPI every 40 seconds, it issues a explore deploy request to the node. and get the balance back. So I have added the SendRev capability. Until this morning, I had forgotten that there is a 100 millionth factor. So basically, I've been sending 100 millionth of revs instead of revs. So that's why I did not understand the balances was not changing. But I have fixed it. So right now, okay, so I'll try to send money from one account to the other. Okay, send revs, this address, password. So I should be able to send any amount. Let's send 30. Okay, let's check if node 2 received my deploy. So it's there, so that's great. So it might take just a bit of time. So I'll switch to something else quickly, and we will get back to it. Okay. So yes, basically the basic wallet is done, which means checking balance and sending revs. And then the part that changes, but I have not been able to test it yet, especially with the testnet, because I think heavy deploys might not be supported. So basically, you will have addresses just like this one, registry URI dot file ID, and you are also you will be able not to provide the file ID if the file ID is indexed, which is a default file ID that is set if you do not set it. So just like in URLs, often you don't have to provide the /index. You can just provide the address without any suffix. So basically, good news and an incoming release of the API with the wallet features that I think are much will be the main thing people get the API for.
Right.
Because
And what's your estimate on time as far as when you feel comfortable with your DAPI release?
it will be quick for I would say not more than 7 days for Windows plus Debian Ubuntu release, and then I'll find a solution to compile on Mac platform.
Okay.
But Windows and Ubuntu should come pretty soon.
Okay. Great news.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
tremendous.
let's check accounts. No, not yet. Oh, maybe I should have changed the begin transfers. Okay, it saw it. Maybe I should have changed the flow limit. I will do another one just to make sure. Address, send revs. And yes, there is another small detail that I have not done yet, and I think I'll need help to do it. So I'll send this time 40 revs, and I'll raise it. The last thing I need is to add a payment mechanism in the RChain names contract. Basically, this means that anyone who wants to buy a name on the API will have to pay something like 1, 2, or 10 revs. So that's the only thing missing in this Roland file. I did it, but it did not work. So basically, I need help to do it because I don't know how to do it before performing the create operation. After I have checked that the name is not already taken, I have to require the client that has triggered the action. I have to require him to pay 2 revs to a specific address. So basically, I need this feature to launch it. And so I'll ask for help from people comfortable with Roland, maybe MyStay or someone else, maybe Tomislav.
Can you say? Sorry, I didn't follow all that you said.
So on the API, you have a bunch of names that can be attached to blockchain resources, like Tomislav. And so this file, the RChain names repo, is the Roland file that is deployed at the Genesis launch of the DAPI network. And basically, it's very simple. There is an update channel and a create channel. And the only thing I need is to require people who want to own a name to pay for 2 revs or a small amount of revs to get it. So before inserting a key into a map, I need to require a payment. So it's that simple. It's that simple on the paper, but I don't know how to do it because the only payment mechanism I manipulate is the transfer term contract. So I don't know how to tweak it to work because this contract is only deployed at the genesis of the DAPI network, and after that we just enter into this code, but the action is triggered by many different public keys. So
the idea is, I think, you should have in your contract you should have a method that, for example, I would need to call when I want to reserve a name, and in this code you can really execute the same code for transfer. And because I'm calling this with my deploy ID, Roland, we know, oh, this is not executing from you, although you deployed the contract, but I'm calling this specific method. And I know in this method, I know this is a transfer that will take part of my revs.
So this is the code of the transfer fund code. So basically, I just have to incorporate it into my contract, and the from will be your address. The two
my address,
will
your
be mine.
address.
Okay.
Yes.
And
I will really create. From my perspective, I will create a transfer with additional stuff. And because I'm calling this, this is my deploy ID.
Okay. And when the virtual machines will see, will understand that it performs a vault operation, a transfer, it will check that you I've signed it.
Yes.
Okay.
In the same way, this is like, I'm not supplying the code for transfer because this code is in your contract and I'm just calling it.
Okay.
But all the execution, I need to pay the whole execution. This is my cost.
Of course. Okay, so and then I'll just wait in this confirmation part Okay, so it
Yeah.
seems easier than I thought. Great.
Yeah, yeah. But now I must warn you that I found out some strange situation. It's really simple thing, but this result will not happen all the time. If you are sending, if receiving vault is not created yet, or even better to say, it's not used in any way. So what I did, you can check this in my repo of client example. I created another find or create call, but to receiving vault. So it's a little more expensive, like 20,000 phlogiston's more expensive, but you will get the result always, right? Because first time you need to create the receiving vault. So the first time the cost will be around 230,000. So
Okay, so if this operation is the first one of the given address, it won't work. That's what you say?
it will work and it will create a transfer, but you will not. This final continuation will not be executed. So this result channel will never receive.
Okay, so I have to get your code.
It's just one line to create. So let me copy.
Okay, great. So that's kind of.
I noticed this this weekend when I was working on this example, and I was totally surprised. You know, why is not working?
Okay, so the 40 revs transfer worked. If you take a look at the logs, we have no. Yes, okay, we have here a 2 and then 6. So basically the 40 revs transfer worked from the ref 10 account to the ref 11 account. So that's great. You can have as many accounts as you want. An account is not linked to a particular blockchain. Of course, at first, I will encourage people only to deal with one blockchain, even if you can create other ones. But basically, DAPI will be 100% mainnet connected, so it's up to the developers to play with it. But yes, the multi blockchain features are not very well tested yet. So that's all. The transfer worked.
So when you say multi-chain, you mean you can request applications, DAPI applications from multiple networks, right?
Yep. If I, for example, it won't work, but I check. Oh no, I have to give the 64 the 64 string because the registry URIs are 64 length. Okay, so it worked because my DAPI node is connected to a proxy, a fake server. But yes, in the address there is a RChain / alpha network. So it will be beta network, and the beta network will be a DAPI network connected to the RChain mainnet, but eventually people will be free to have another DAPI network tied to another blockchain platform or another shard of RChain. So this is why we will be able to have multiple blockchains. Eventually, what we can imagine is one for big files, one for small files, one for RChain mainnet, one for the name system. So that's the speculations about why we would need multiple blockchains,
Cool. Yeah.
multiple networks.
Will there be the ability to store a file, for instance, like your Munster file, when you
Yep.
have that functionality up?
Yep, we might even just try it now, but I did not see. I did not have the confirmation from the node I'm connected with, so I tried to deploy it with higher phlogiston. So this is 1 rev, and let's say 10 revs. Deploy. Okay, so now let's check. So I just did it. I just did this once this morning. So let's see. Okay, so this is my file encoded in base 64. It has been sent to a file module instance that has been created on the fly. But now what I'm waiting for is these logs in the RChain logs of node 2, but I might not see them. So this is the thing I'm wondering about. I think it will never appear. Let's wait. But basically, if it appears, we should have a pop-up in the API and the possibility to navigate to it instantly, and then the possibility to download the file. But I think.
Can I ask you, you're using valid after block number -1. Did I see this correctly? Or?
Where did you see it?
In the logs.
Oh. Oh. Okay.
So.
Nice catch. So I think it's the issue.
Yeah, if you don't see your deploy executed, it will be just discarded, right, without any message.
Yes, I did not see it.
So in my example, I added the code when I'm requesting data for listen for data at name. After this call, I'm checking is the node have another block, like new block, and I'm checking is the my deploy inside this block, and I can get you know, if there is an error, you have errored a field, and you have system deploy error string field, which you can check and maybe display to the user. Or so I'm doing this in my code, so you can check and see.
Yes, I do it. No, it's not the. Yes, I do it a bit the old way, which is checking listen data name for 6 minutes, and after 6 minutes, I display an error message. But usually this should not happen because the last finalized block value is recovered every 40 seconds. So I always have it locally in the API in order for me to sign correct deploys. The issue I have is that I think, okay, so file upload, let's check it. Okay, so basically, store. So this is the one. And then deploy options. Okay, so that's it.
Oh, you should not use a sequence number. You should get the latest block and use the block number here.
Yes, I think there is a. So the prepare deploy must not be used.
Not for sequence number, because you need the block number and not the sequence number. Okay. The sequence number is only for this one validator, and you need to supply the block number, or like the block height on the whole network.
Okay, so I have to do a last validated block call.
Not last validated, but the last block. So you can just use blocks /1.
Okay. Okay, so I will do it.
I will go through to my code so I can show you the whole process.
Let's just make sure. Yes, yes, I receive a sec number -1 from the prepare deploy. So that's why.
And why did you receive -1? Because you are connected to read-only node. Right.
Oh, okay.
And because read-only node does not producing blocks, so he will always return -1.
Okay, and if I do API blocks 1, okay, so I must take the block number.
The block number, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it's in the middle.
Okay, and one last question. Can I do the same on the read-only node?
Yeah, but this call, when you deploy something, you want to get this information directly on the validator, so you can have it, more quickly.
Yes, there is a small issue on this observer node.
Yeah, I know what is the issue. You cannot open this in HTTPS.
Yes.
I really discovered what is the problem. RChain coop root domain is configured to response with HSTS, strict security, and so now Chrome will always try to open, and it is configured to include all the subdomains. So any subdomain with RChain coop, Chrome will try to open it with HTTPS. So you can.
And Firefox also, I think.
Firefox, no, Firefox works. It seems that Firefox doesn't, enforce this. So,
Tomislav, it's Gurinder. I just put up another, at least in the production. Are you looking for testnet right now, or there's a observer.services.mainnet.rchain.coop, which is secure. So if you need to use that,
okay.
Do the link in the chat.
So this is just for testing, right? You will do this in all the nodes.
Yes. For now, if you guys can just test it, let me know what the feedback is. If it works, that would be great. I'll send it to you now.
Cool.
So this is at least in the mainnet. So do you need it for testnet as well? I'll set one for testnet as well.
We need this in all addresses that we will publish on RChain coop. As I said, RChain coop is configured to enforce HTTPS in all subdomains.
Right. I mean, I understood the HSTS, but right now, I thought for the testnet you're using RChain dev.tk, no?
For observer node, it's still it's used RChain coop, I think.
For mainnet or for testnet?
For testnet.
Oh, okay. Can you send me the link for that? Because I thought I just saw .tk. The Raphael was using .tk, I thought.
For validator nodes, but for observer node, NetZipper was sent me this address: observer testnet RChain coop.
Yeah, that's right. But I have the same issue on Mozilla Firefox.
Oh, I didn't have problem with Firefox, so maybe maybe I have an older version. So let me find out. I just want to post address where this can be, at least temporarily, how this can be solved.
For
So
now,
here's
you
the,
can use. For now, Tomislav, you can just use a IP address for now. Just for
well,
time being, and I'll, you know, hopefully by the end of the day, you'll have something which you can use with HTTPS then.
yeah, I mean, I'm on my example page, I'm using IP address, but it's still the problem because a page is published on HTTPS. So you need also to configure in your browser to allow mixed content so you can connect to HTTP.
Understood. Got it.
So with this Chrome address, you can delete RChain corp from the domain security policies, and after that, it will work in the Chrome.
So just Tomislav, a quick question. There are multiple testnet nodes. Does it matter which testnet node the user basically does a query? Can it be sort of like a load balancer in front of it, and it can go to any one of the nodes?
This is a good question. I mean, yes, but you know, for example, when Rafael is doing some query, he wants to know in which node he is querying, at least for now, because you know, if you deploy something to one node and then you query another and you're not sure if you are querying the same node, you know, maybe you're not expecting the.
Got it. That's all I needed to understand. If there was a dependency on, once you do deploy, do you need to be on the same node or not?
Yeah, at least for now. At least for now, because you know, we have many moving parts. So.
Well, we could make it sticky that anytime that once you go into one node, that's the node that you're basically serviced going forward from that the browser session for that browser session.
This is in the browser, and what about just normal calls?
For the RPC, or you're talking about? We're just talking about the.
Yeah, just for example, from other applications that are not the browser. I mean, is it possible that we still have all the node addresses, but we have like special name where, you know, it's load balancing?
Right. I mean, I think it just needs a little bit of testing. I'm still in the midst of it. I just set it up last night. So if you want to play with it, give me some feedback. If it works for your requirements, if not, then we'll just tweak it a little bit more.
I mean, it's definitely not important now. Yeah, it's this HTTPS is much more important than load balancing. I don't see like any immediate benefit for load balancing.
Okay.
So I'm also trying to run read-only node to see how this will work for me. Let me see what I got. I don't have Genesis also.
Somehow the NetZipper ran a read-only node. I can't run one. I've tried everything. I mean, I don't know. It could be running. Someday it could complete Genesis, but it doesn't look like it's going to.
No, it should already calculate the Genesis. This is something other. I know that NetZipper is now debugging something about fairness constraints, so maybe this is the issue that he's trying to solve. Yeah, we definitely need to see, and not only to connect, but also to how Node can catch up, because now Node is executing everything, which is not completely correct. So Greg said that Node can just take the last state and continue from there. So if we want to have the whole block history, we should have different type of nodes, right? Because the valid node is also the node who started from the last finalized block. And when I said last finalized block, I mean last finalized state, like the whole state. And from this state, this node can continue executing stuff. But you cannot ask this node, oh, give me something from the first block, because this node doesn't have to have all the blocks. But this part is not finished. So now we are storing all of the blocks, and we don't have any garbage collection to just discard blocks that are not used.
Okay, so basically those nodes we just have the state, but not the complete history of executions leading to this state. Okay.
Yeah. The whole they will have some execution as a part of the state, but they will not have all of the deploys and or the source how to get to this state, because when you have finalized hash, one point in the whole state, you can be sure that this will never change, and requests to the history should be somehow managed outside of the REVS calculation, right? Because whoever will run the whole history will need to have some economics, because this will be costly to go to the whole blocks and everything. So this should be like another part of the network where you want to inspect something and not just the current state.
So would there be for both observer nodes, read-only nodes, and for validator nodes, two kinds? So there would be one set of nodes that have the full history, and then one set of nodes that have just the latest state. Is that for both read-only and for validator?
Yeah, this applies to any node. Because,
to any node, okay.
Yeah, because all nodes have the same not only state, but everything the same, right?
Okay.
They're only different in the keys and right, which is private. So you can just take the database of the read-only node, supply it to the validator, and he can start and work without problems. Okay. So I'm imagining that maybe you don't want to give to the validator that is running also the history, because your validator is like precious thing which is running all of the deploys. So maybe you want to put histories in read-only node and say, okay, this is the like special.
Okay, that's making sense.
It's not technically like requirement, but
okay. And with I think about with the economics, then if the validator only has, you know, the latest state perhaps, and then the read-only has the full history, then here's a situation where perhaps a read-only node can earn reward, you know, because it has that full history, and it needs, the validators need, you know, periodically, depending on the deploys, the assistance of the read-only node for that full history.
Yeah, yeah, this is definitely a solution that will work. And so the problem is that you need some kind of trust when you are accessing this history node. So it's not that you are requesting directly from the blockchain. So maybe you will have, because this data is just, you know, large amount of raw data. So you will probably just reading the raw data from the node, and you will have some another layer of analytics, and then you will present this to the user and have some economics.
Okay.
And you can say, oh, you know, I analyzed all of the blocks, and, you know, I can give you, you know, all forgeable names and all of the history, and I have all the indexes of all of these things, and, you know, this kind of stuff.
Okay. Very helpful. Thank you.
And this is why listen for data at name is so expensive, because we are reading the history. We are not executing something like exploratory deploy, executing something on the state. We are reading the whole history. Ah,
that was another key insight. So listen for data at name is exploring the full history. Exploratory deploy is just investigating the state, current state. Yeah. Okay, makes sense. Yeah. Well,
we can go further. We can say, I want to execute on some previous state. I want to execute my deploy. So we can have exploratory deploy where you can say, oh, go to the past, you know, create this state, and then execute the deploy.
Okay.
So you can have all the mixed situations.
Right. Okay. Good. Well, we're at the top of the hour. We can continue on if we want to, or.
I have one question, which Tom was saying that you need trust. Now, you know, my understanding of how it works in Ethereum is that because the hash of the previous block is in the block, that you have
but if I'm supplying the previous block and this block, I can give you whatever I want.
Right, but you don't have to validate each of the blocks. All you have to do is validate the hashes. That's what Ethereum does.
But you need all of the previous hashes. So
that's right. You need to read all the blocks. You don't have to run them.
Yeah. I mean,
why do you have to run them again? They've already been validated. They've already been run by people. They're already part of the main chain. The only thing you have to do is start with the hash of the first one, hash the second one. If it's correct, if all the hashes are correct, then you know the blockchain is correct. You don't have to run the blocks.
So I asked this yesterday, and Greg answered. The whole shard can be malicious.
That's right.
That's the problem. So I'm still on your side that if we trust the shard, then this is fine, right?
Right.
So this is only problem if
we don't support shards. We're not supporting sharding currently, so we don't have to worry about that case. Okay, we have to make it so that we can run this thing. And you know, I don't buy the thing that the current state is going to work because the current state is way too big.
So this is why we need so node should be able to start from the last finalized state. So
Right,
we
but
need additional.
What's the last finalized state? I mean, how is that's going to be huge.
So yeah, I mean the state is what it is. So if you want to start executing or giving the data of the current state, you need to have the whole state. But it's definitely much smaller than you know, requiring all the blocks and executing everything.
Yeah,
That's true.
Isn't the most recent state, although it may be large, it's still smaller than the entire history.
Yes, yes, and maybe it's not so large, right? Because most of the computation is inside with private names and you know, closed, and all this stuff are not exposed outside. So if you want to have something, you need to, like Rafael, you need to put to the registry. You need to store it, something that you can say, oh, this is part of the current state. And if you create a name inside your deploy and you do, and you not send this name outside, this name doesn't exist, right? It's not part of the current state.
Okay, if you're going to do a listen that name.
Yes, listen at name is problematic in that case because listen for data at name requires block. And maybe in this situation we don't have block because we only have current state.
Yeah, that's a big problem. That's a problem. Oh well.
So now we will restrict only five blocks in the past for listen for data at name and the similar methods. And we need to build this another mechanism to catch up the state, because this is not implemented right now. Now Node is starting from the beginning and try to execute everything, and we see this is problematic.
Okay, I see. And if you just verify the blocks, it's still not going to give you. That won't give you the current state. You still have to run everything to get the current state.
Yeah, someone needs to give you this current state. So we need this additional code that you know, that Node can request the current state and say, oh, you know, I will start from there. And then this can also be used as a restore point.
Yeah.
If you can ask the node, oh, just from this hash create the state, you can restart the node and you know, continue.
All right, guys. Anything else? I mean, is there anything we can accomplish here? I think I'm about done. I don't know if there's anything useful I can do at this point.
So can I just show this code? How I'm requesting data with listen for data at name. So I'm using sequence number from prepare deploy. And I'm using sequence number in a way that before I will request the data, I'm taking the current sequence number. And I know that when Node is proposing a block, it will increase this sequence number. So here is the loop. So this get data will be called multiple times with this set timeout. And in each round, we will see, oh, do I have the data? If I have the data, then everything is fine. I'm also reading the cost here. I will add this today. But if you don't have the data, then you can check what is going on. So you can check, is the sequence number greater than the sequence number where I was first requesting the data. So if the sequence number is greater, then the block is produced. So we don't have the data and the block is produced. So something is wrong, right? And here I'm checking what happened. So first I'm trying to get deploy from the node with this endpoint, deploy / signature. And this should give me a block, and in this block there should be a deploy. And from this deploy is returned here. And inside this deploy, we have error, which is Boolean, and we have system deploy error, which is string. And we can check these fields, what happened. Does this make sense? Rafael, you're muted if you're talking.
It's better than what I have written, because you can very precisely know what went wrong. So okay, great. And the system deploy error might be some phlogiston issue, like
insufficient funds. Yes, okay. Insufficient funds. Yeah. One thing also, I have a bug. So I'm not completely sure how to solve it, in easy and clean way. So what can happen? It can be that you're requesting sequence number, but and this is so you're deploying something, you're deploying, but a node is just proposing blocks. It's in the middle of execution. So you will deploy your code, and you will get success message, right? And if you inspect sequence number, you will get some number. And immediately, when node is finished with proposing, it will have a sequence number that is greater than this number that you received. But your deploy is not in this block. It's because node was processing previous block, so it received your deploy, but your deploy will be in the next block. So this is like a small window where this code will not work as expected. So there is a slight chance that you can just deploy your code in the middle of proposing. So this code is fine, but not in this situation. So I need to adapt this code to also, check, I have a block, this deploy is not inside, but I need to wait to the second block. So it's a little more complicated.
Why don't you change the delta to be superior to 1 instead of 0?
Yeah, it's not just that. First of all, the strange situation is that fetch deploy will not just return nothing. It will throw exception if it doesn't find deploy. So that's the first thing. And if I put 1 here, that will mean that I will retry until the second block is published. And you're waiting enough just for the 1, and now waiting for 2 blocks. It will be like too much. And because in most situations, 0 is fine, because then you will have your block in the next, you will have deploy in the next block. So just for this like special case, I don't want to put this one here, and so you don't, so you want, so you need to wait like 2 blocks, and you know it's like 5 minutes, and you know.
But if the fetch deploy fails, then you can check. Then,
Yeah.
then you know that you have to wait for the next one.
Yeah, but only next one, because if it's failed for 2 blocks, then something is totally wrong, right? It's so I need another counter that it will check, you know, oh, this is like special situation, I need to wait.
It always comes back to 1 and 0.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be nice that we can query validator for status of our deploy, you know. So if you can say, you know, is this waiting, or
you may also have a malicious node that likes some people and does not like some other people.
Yep.
So
Yep.
this node might just keep your deploy.
Yeah, and
send
do
you
nothing. Yep. Yeah. This is also problematic. We were talking about the gossiping of deploys, right? If one node is under heavy pressure, you know, this node can deliver your deploy to other node, but you know, all of this is happening on one layer. That how can you know what is going on? You know, you want to be sure that when you supply your deploy, you know, node is not doing some strange things, right?
Well, when you do the deploy, you get back success, right? Even
Always.
though it's,
yeah, because node is taking your deploy, save it to the disk, and say, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah.
right, but at that time, it could return state information, right? It could return the sequence number that it'll be in. It could, you know.
But
if we need to know the state when we do the deploy, that would be the place to capture it, right?
Okay. This makes sense. If deploy returns sequence number, yeah, this is maybe like a good information, because. But if it's can this solve the problem that I just described? Because now I'm taking the sequence number just after deploy. Okay. Yeah, I will check this. But this is like a good observation. Yeah, because now deploy does when you deploy return information doesn't give you anything. It gives you a success with signature, and your signature you already have. So yeah, and
yeah,
it is always success.
It says it lies. It says success, but who knows?
Well, I mean, you're right. If node is accepting deploy, why not execute this deploy immediately?
I asked myself the same kind of questions when I worked on DAPI at first, and of course at first you ask lots of questions, and so I told myself that one of the best way, not for the platform but for the confidence of the client to do, is to know many nodes, and to send to each one deploy data with the same deploy ID. So basically, you just sign multiple times to different validators, and you send it to 3, 4, 5 nodes. And even if many of them try to process it, they won't be able to do it because there is the same unique ID, so it cannot be included twice. Is it a solution?
Yeah, I mean, now this doesn't make any difference, because we are proposing in round robin, so we have blocks in the sequence. But in the future, and this is the thing that I will start working now, block merging. And this is something that we need to solve, because what you described is totally realistic, and it totally makes sense. If you want to be sure that your deploys will be included, you just push it to all validators. But so what validator can do in this situation? One thing is just to ignore it, because it cannot merge it. And if this block is becoming an orphan just because of your deploy, that's also problematic, because you can create many orphan blocks just by deploying your code to many validators. So I don't have answers right now, but yeah, we need to solve this. And also, if you are using the same key with two different deploys, you are using the same revolt. So also, if you want to merge these blocks, this is also a problem, because you are using the same revolt. So yeah.
And also, it might not only be an issue of not trusting nodes, but it might just be companies who wish to have processing as fast as possible. So basically, the basic stupid solution is to send the same thing to everyone.
Yeah, and maybe for this kind of situation, you want to have special shard who will support this kind of model, where this will be like included in validator's code, or something that some layer which will guarantee that because it doesn't make sense that you are sending your code to all validators. For me, it makes more sense that validators are distributing deploys in some sense, much more optimized, so that you as a user, you don't have to do it. And because keeping all of this in the client side is difficult, right?
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing what you described in Discord. About read-only node pushing deploys to validators. This is also something that I was thinking, and it would be useful. For example, if you are running your read-only node on your network, right, on your machine, so this is your code, this is your part of the software, right? And why not for this node to have this functionality that you give and deploy, and this node cannot create blocks, right? But this validator, this read-only node knows about all the validators and the whole network. And this read-only node, you trust this node because it's on your network, and it can have this functionality to publish your deploy to all validators or whatever. So
I think
it makes sense.
Just an issue of getting things as handy as possible for developers.
Yeah. It would be nice that we have some plugins, and so you can create a node, and if you are running in this situation, you just add this plugin, and you have this functionality.
Yeah, because it works, but for example, for the DAPI CLI config file, now I require users to reference a read-only host and a validator host, because the read-only host does not by default proxies deploys. So it's just a surcharge for developers to have to know two different endpoints. But this solution works well also.
I mean, I would love to have more code in the rolling. So, for example, if you are running read-only node, why not push some code. Doesn't have to be deploy, right? Some rolling code that can access deploy API, block API, and transfer your deploy. So you can communicate with your read-only node directly with the rolling, and this rolling code can push everything and do whatever you want. And then all of this code that is in rolling, this code can be downloaded from the blockchain, so you can be sure that your code is correct and all of these things. But now our rolling in which is not on the blockchain is completely restrict of everything. It only has standard output. This is the only thing. But yeah.
Good. Jim and Gary, I won't be able to attend the DApp developer session later on today if in fact we have one. So I guess if you guys show up to see if anyone attends, but I won't be able to.
I was
be
wondering
there.
if we could maybe move that up an hour or back an hour.
Okay.
It conflicts with for me with the MetaSense project, which is not
Yeah.
ours, but it's since if it doesn't bother anybody moving it.
Yeah, my preference would be to move it earlier an hour, because if it's later, because Tuesdays at the current time is the RChain board meeting, and those run long sometimes, so I would still have a conflict. So
okay, yeah, let's move it up an hour.
Okay.
That would be better for you also, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, and basically not much has been happening. I mean, we haven't had any app developers there.
Mm-hmm.
And with me and Gary there, we couldn't help people that much.
Mm-hmm.
We could direct them to basic documentation and stuff. But I guess we could always call someone else in if we need help, right?
Right. Okay, sounds like a plan. So you'll update the calendar with that.
Right.
Okay, any other final thoughts or questions? So
Well,
another great.
I'm running. I got a whole bunch of other options to add from NutZipper, and so I cleared out the files, restarted with the options that he suggested, and it looks like I don't see any errors really in it. I mean, it gets the approved block and all that stuff, and it's sitting there. And it says it's used 16 minutes of CPU at this point.
But do you have a Genesis block?
I don't have a Genesis block.
So I will check. I will talk with NutZipper after this meeting. So we will definitely discuss this.
All right.
All right, thanks everybody. Yep,
Thank
have a
you.
great day.